Hi guys, welcome back to the channel and to the next video in this Luke Listens series. I listen to so much old music and I find it so easy to just stick to the old favorites, right? But imagine if the people in the old days had only listened to their music and not embraced the new music of the day. Then the music we love wouldn't be around, it would have just fallen aside. And so I've been on a bit of a mission to listen to some new Christian music. After all, the Bible does say sing a new song to the Lord. So this series is me reacting to some new Christian music. If you have any songs that you'd like for me to react to, please share them below in the comments. And of course, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please would you do that. Now today I want to listen to a new Jeremy Camp song. And I love Jeremy Camp's music. I remember when he was big, again in the sort of late 2000s, I was listening to his stuff and all my friends were listening to his stuff. And songs like Walk by Faith and I Still Believe had a big impact on us. And then the movie came out. A lot of you have watched the Jeremy Camp movie. I think it's called Walk by Faith or I Still Believe, one of those two. And that was really cool, just his story of how he faced a lot of hardship, but God used him in an amazing way. And so when I saw this new album, 2024, Deeper Waters, by Jeremy Camp, I thought, oh, let me hold off and listen to the first track, or the biggest track on here on the channel. I see the most popular one so far is one called These Days, 1.3 million plays already. So, let's have a listen. Enjoy.
These days my heart's always on the run. These days the world's spinning out of control.
Straight in. This is typical modern music, I suppose. You don't have time for long intros because people lose interest. So there's, I think, a 2-bar little guitar intro and straight in. Now this is one of the reasons I think I stopped listening to Jeremy Camp was he started to sound a lot more pop and I suppose contemporary, whereas in the early days he sounded very rock, which I liked. And then it became a bit too poppy for me and I stopped listening to him. And this immediately has got a bit of a pop sound to it, but I'm not as closed-minded as I used to be. I think it's going to be worth listening to anyway. Let's go back to the beginning.
These days my heart's always on the run. These days the world's spinning out of control.
Okay, these days my heart's always on the run. On the run? From what? From God? From difficulty and pain? From people? Things are spiraling out of control, spinning out of control, did he say. So real human emotions, battling with life, we can all relate. How interesting is this intro, by the way, that funny little stop. Quite creative. Again, that's why I said you sort of catch your attention straight away with an interesting little guitar riff and then that jarring kind of stop-start thing before it starts singing. Very catchy.
These days my heart's always on the run. These days the world's spinning out of control. These days are fast and they're furious. Feels like the worst is ahead of us.
Okay, so a bit of a difficult outlook on life. Things are looking as if the worst is ahead of us. It's a fast and a furious life. Feel like things are spiraling out of control. I'm sure there's good news coming, right? He's not going to just stick here. He's going to say, but God is in control or something like that. But it's true. If you look around, often it's easy to feel this way when we see the world. We need a faith perspective. We need a God perspective. Otherwise, these things can overwhelm us.
Always on the run. These days the world's spinning out of control. These days are fast and they're furious. Feels like the worst is ahead of us.
Yeah, these days they're fast and they're furious. It does feel like life is faster paced than ever before. and that it might be spiraling out of control. I like the arrangement here. There's a nice little drum beat going with a very rolly snare pattern. The guitar part is beautiful, and it just kind of holds everything together. And as usual, Jeremy Camp, a great vocal. Great vocal. What a good singer. I always wished I could sound a bit more like Jeremy Camp.
These days are fast and they're furious. Feels like the worst is ahead of us. Sometimes it's hard to feel at home, but I believe that you and I are in the right place at the right time. God called us by name, and He doesn't make mistakes.
Oh, goosebumps. Goosebumps. You know, I actually preached on something like this just the other day because it was election day here in South Africa not so long ago. A lot of people are disillusioned here. A lot of people are saying, oh, it's just going to get worse and worse and worse. And I preached about how God's called you here, you know, to be part of the solution, to do good, to bring light into wherever He's placed you. And as he started singing that chorus, I just made my heart so happy, because that's what he was saying. Yes, things are difficult, but I believe God has placed me here. Oh, let me listen to that again.
Sometimes it's hard to feel at home, but I believe that you and I are in the right place at the right time. God called us by name, and He doesn't make mistakes. I know we were born to shine bright in a dark world that needed some light.
Oh yes, He's called us to shine bright in a dark world. This is a good song. This is a necessary song. And, you know, it sometimes doesn't feel like things are going to get better, but we are the ones who are called to make it better as God's people. What did he say in that pre-chorus? I need to hear it again.
Sometimes it's hard to feel at home, but
sometimes it's hard to feel at home, all right. And this was, again, part of my sermon that day, which is why this is interesting me that God has brought this into my life today. I was saying a lot of Christians evade responsibility on earth by saying this earth is not our home, right? There's those scriptures that say live as foreigners and exiles, and remember you're a citizen of heaven, and so don't think too much of earthly things. And we can use that sort of thinking to say, well, I'm not getting involved. I'm just a heavenly person, right? I'm a God person. This world is nothing to me. But that is, I think, very bad thinking. Jesus, or God, created the earth, and the earth is scarred by sin because of our bad choices and our sinful natures. But He's called us to go back into the world, or to stay in this world, should I say, and bring solutions to the world, not to just hope for heaven and think, oh, we're on a sinking ship. No, we're here to make a difference and to do good. I have to hear it again.
sometimes it's hard to feel at home.
Nice little breakdown as well. It kind of, everything drops out. You just hear this little keyboard, this Rhodes keyboard, and a funny effect on the vocal. So you kind of stop and pay attention, and it goes boom into the chorus.
But I believe that you and I are in the right place at the right time. God
Do you believe that about your life, that you're in the right place at the right time? God's placed you where you are now for a reason.
called us by name, and He doesn't make mistakes. I know we were born to shine bright in a dark world that needed some light. Don't have to be afraid. Maybe we were made for these days.
Yes, maybe we were made for these days. Maybe God had a plan to bring you and me to where we are now, so that we can be the change in the world in Jesus' name. You know, He knows you by name. He said there in the middle of that chorus, and has called you to this place for a reason. I like this. And it's so happy. I love how the chorus starts in this parachute thing of His has opened up, and suddenly there's light, and there's brightness, there's color. and it just gets big. It sounds big. It sounds happy. You know, you don't need to be bogged down. You can feel freedom in this place that you're called. Love it. Love it.
Don't have to be afraid.
Don't have to be afraid.
Maybe we were made for these days. Maybe we were made for these days.
All right, maybe we were made for these days. And then again, some catchy pop stuff just to keep you off guard in the little tagline between the chorus and the verse. Well, the only thing that's wrong with this is the word maybe. We were definitely made for these days. You know, I like the old stuff. If you ever listen to my daily devotions or, you know, listen to me preach or whatever, I'm often referring to old theologians because I like reading the old stuff. And there was a time when I used to think maybe I was born in the wrong era, right? Maybe I would have been better off hundreds of years ago. Don't believe that anymore. I believe I'm blessed to learn from the old guys and the good new guys who are around today. But that God knew what he was doing when he put me here today, and it's the same for you. He knew what he was doing when he created you for these days. So it's not a maybe. I guess when you're wrestling with it and thinking about it, you're going, well, maybe. But I hope that we can get to the place where we say, definitely, I was made for these days.
Maybe we were made for these days. What if the beauty isn't crushed? It just needs the hope that's inside of us. What if it's more than a destiny? What if we're part of a masterpiece?
Okay, yes, good thinking. What if the beauty isn't crushed? Right? What if we're part of the masterpiece? He's bringing us back to seeing the world as a beautiful creation of God that, yes, has been broken by sin, but is not yet defeated, is not just going down, but God has given us, his people, the authority to go and bring healing and goodness. This is right up my street. Let's hear again.
Beauty isn't crushed. We were made for these days. What if the beauty isn't crushed? It just needs the hope that's inside of us.
It just needs the hope that's inside of us. So there's brokenness, yes, but the beauty that God created in this world isn't crushed. It just needs the living hope that's inside of us, which is the good news of Jesus, that there is healing and restoration, yes.
What if it's more than a destiny? What if we're part of a masterpiece?
What did he say? What if it's more than our destiny? What if we're part of the masterpiece? Yes, what if we are not just, part of a sinking ship, but that we are masterpieces designed by God to bring about good? There's a verse in Ephesians which says we are God's handiwork. Ephesians 2 verse 10, I believe it is. And I always liked the New Living Translation, which says we are God's masterpiece, which is just, I guess, a more descriptive way of saying we're God's handiwork. Yes, we're not just worms. We are redeemed. Those who have come to Christ are redeemed, made new because of him, and that hope living inside of us. We are masterpieces that can go and affect good in the world.
Than a destiny. What if we're part of a masterpiece? Until our Father brings us home.
Oh, nice, catchy. So a little drop down into the pre-chorus, until our Father brings us home. So yes, our ultimate hope is when either we die and are gathered up to God, or Jesus comes back and gathers all those who are still living to be with him. But until then, we're going to be part of the solution. I love that little drop there. It was interesting. It dropped and there was thunder, which is traditionally a negative sound. Thunder is supposed to be about judgment and about bad things, right? And so maybe that's what he was trying to say there. We're waiting, and yes, there's thunder rolling and there's difficulty, but we're still safe because we're living God's way these days, even in amongst all of this stuff. Let's hear that again.
Until our Father brings us home.
Okay, yes, so while we wait, there's a storm. There's storms brewing in our world, but that isn't going to knock us down. Here comes the chorus.
I believe that you and I are in the right place at the right time. God called us by name, and He doesn't make mistakes.
I love those two lines. God called us by name and He doesn't make mistakes. He can be trusted and He loves you and has called you for a reason.
I know we were born to shine bright in a dark world that needed some light.
Okay, we were born to shine bright in a dark world that needed some light. Paul in Philippians talks about how we are to shine like stars in a crooked generation. So even in his generation, he was saying, we Christians are the ones who are supposed to shine like a light. And it's the same today. It's the same today. We who have the living hope of Christ inside of us are to shine brightly for Him in this dark world. Jesus, I always was amazed at how Jesus at one point says, I am the light of the world, referring to Himself, and then later says, you are the light of the world, to His listeners. And so in other words, that living hope that He gives us makes us carry His light into the world. Yes.
We were born to shine bright in a dark world that needed some light. Don't have to be afraid. Maybe we were made for these days. Maybe we were made to stay when it gets hard, to love with open arms, something to embrace. Maybe we were made for these days.
I love the mix of rock and pop here. There's those heavy sounding guitars, but with a bit of a pop synth sound coming in at the same time. What did he say here in the bridge? I want to hear this again.
Maybe we were made to stay when it gets hard.
To stay when it gets hard, not to run away from our difficulties. Yes, to bloom where you're planted, to use a popular term.
To love with open arms, something to embrace.
To love with open hearts, and then, or to love with open arms, to welcome people in, rather than pushing them out.
Maybe we were made for these days.
And then he said something about embracing. Let me just hear that again.
Maybe we were made to stay when it gets hard, to love with open arms, something to embrace.
Something to embrace? Something to embrace. I don't quite know what he said there. But to embrace rather than to reject. And of course, we're always supposed to reject sin. But we're always supposed to love people as well, in spite of their sin. Not reject people, but to have open arms. And that's, Jesus did this. It amazes me how Jesus was quite harsh on the religious types because they had got this part wrong. When they forgot to love with open arms and embrace people, then they'd missed the point, and Jesus called them out on it. We're the ones who aren't supposed to do those sorts of things, but who are supposed to offer God's welcome to people. Now, yes, the condition, and I'll use that word, the condition is repentance, and is turning to God and turning away from your godless life. And that's where Jesus would draw the line. But He gave people the chance to discover the truth. He gave people the chance to come to Him and see and hear and listen. We can't just push people out. We need to have open arms so that they can hear the hope that He has.
Maybe we were made for these days. I
Don't have to be afraid. There's another line that I have heard in that chorus each time we've heard it. And Christians sometimes do. They live as if the world is winning, and as if Satan is winning, and as if the darkness is going to just overwhelm us. But we don't have to be afraid. The Bible over and over again says, "Fear not, for I am with you." Do you believe today that in spite of some of the decay of morals and faith around us, that doesn't need to make us fear, but that God is still in control and God is still bringing about healing? In fact, shouldn't it make us even more bold to go out and proclaim His healing in the world, because the world needs to see it and know it and hear it and understand it? Don't need to be afraid, friends. We are called to be light in the world. Let's go and be that light. Oh, I like that ending with those backing vocals. Is that his wife? I seem to remember his wife may be recording with him these days. Maybe not, I could be wrong. But maybe we were made for these days. Again, I would say we're definitely made for these days. Now, what did you think of the song? I really enjoyed it. It reminded me that there is nothing to be afraid of, and that we don't need to be fearful and downcast people. Christians are so often, negative. Oh, we're in the last days, and so everything's just terrible. But God is with us. Let's just, hunker down in our corners and wait for evil to take over and God to rescue us. No, that's not at all what we're called to do. We're called to be the ones with the authority of Christ. Remember, all authority in heaven and earth has been given to me, Jesus said. And He then gives it to us as His followers to go and to do good in this world. Friends, this is a cool song. I want to listen to it again and just be reminded, God's called me here for a reason. God's put me here. God's called me to these days because these days there is a need for true Christians who will live the Christian life and not just cower in fear. Love it. Jeremy Kemp, great songwriter, great musician. The music there was so upbeat and happy, wasn't it? It had power to it. It had a punch to it, but it was happy. And I really enjoyed that. And also quite interesting. All these little funny dropouts and stuff made it quite listenable and fascinating to listen to. But the lyrics, above all, were great. What did you think? Were there any lyrics there that really spoke to you? Please share that in the comments below. And if there's anything else, new music you want me to listen to, let's discover good new Christian music that's going to edify us, that's going to strengthen us in our walks with God. Yes, the old stuff is great, and believe me, I'm going to keep doing my classic hymns and all that. But I love this. I love discovering new, good, godly songs. Friends, thank you for your support and for listening or watching today. God bless you guys. Please check out my Patreon if you'd like to support there, and go onto my website for more godly music and all sorts of Christ-focused teaching. I would appreciate if you'd have a look there. God bless you guys. Go out and live these days today with God's joy and with God's authority to bring healing and light into the dark world.